Hello, everybody. Welcome to Author Live Chat with Fans Sunday series Stories from the Unsung Heroes. Today, 30th August 2020, 8 p.m. CST, we are live on Facebook, our Facebook page, in order to connect with Patrick, Author Patrick Ratchford. And we're going to talk about his third book, right? Which is about the start of something big, an expression on living life to its fullest. So that's the title of the book. And so, what is it all about? So, let's just see or probably look into author Ratchford's profile for a bit so that we can understand him a little further, right? So, Ratchford is, hold on a bit. Mr. Ratchford has traveled extensively throughout the United States and the world and has dealt effectively with all types of personalities. He has successfully owned and operated music promotions, neon companies, dance companies, and has also appeared on music videos, television talk, and entertainment shows, and was successfully involved in radio broadcasting as well. He was awarded the New Mexico's Man of the Year 1989. In addition to his personal accomplishments, he has trained people throughout the country. In fact, he not only motivates you in your career, but also provides you with skills you can apply in other areas of your life. So, Mr. Ratchford just won't help you reach for your dreams, he will show you how to catch them. Right. So, it's a pleasure to invite Mr. Ratchford to our show today. So, I'm going to add into the stream. Hello, Patrick. Hello, Patrick.
Hello,
Hello.
Jasmina.
Hello, how are you, Patrick? How are you
I
doing
am
today?
I am well. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, so thank you for joining our show today. It's a pleasure to have you on our Sunday series discussing yet another interesting nonfiction book. So today we're going to discuss about your third book. So I understand this is actually your third book from our conversation just now, which is the start of something big, an expression on living life to its fullest, right? So
Yes.
before that, Patrick, could you actually introduce yourself briefly, like where you came from and yeah, what you've been doing and how you actually ventured into writing a little bit about that. Although I actually briefly explained about yourself earlier, but I think we would like to know you a little bit more up close and personal. So something about yourself to start with, Patrick.
Absolutely, Jasmina. First, I would like to thank you for having me this
Mhm.
evening, and
It's my pleasure.
I hope that the questions that I provide or the answers that I provide to your questions are helpful and insightful for your
Hmm.
listeners.
Hmm.
Um, I've been involved in the speaking industry for a couple decades. I traveled extensively giving seminars for Fortune 100 and Fortune 200, as well as Fortune 500 companies.
Hmm.
I've been a keynote speaker for different colleges and universities,
Hmm.
and of course, a life coach to hundreds of clients in different um, thresholds of their journey through life.
Hmm.
As an author, one of my early mentors suggested to me early in my career that I may not choose to speak indefinitely. So if
Hmm.
I would write my thoughts down and commit them to paper,
Hmm.
that they would serve as a reference point for
Hmm.
folks who want to follow my teachings.
Hmm.
So I took that to heart and locked myself up in a room for 30 days and committed to writing 6, 10, 12 hours a day. And 4, 5 weeks later, I was able to produce my book.
Uh-huh.
The Have I been successful with different sales organizations and multiple businesses? Yes. Have I been able to set aside a few shekels, as they say, to free up my time?
Hmm.
Yes. But all that is so what? I have found that what folks want to know, what folks want to hear is what can you do for me? What can you offer for my life?
Yes.
So
Uh-huh.
that is why I am here tonight.
Right. Awesome. Interesting. So, Patrick, so you mentioned that you actually give a lot of seminars, and you also have coached a lot of Fortune 100 companies, and so um, what was your career like in your earlier time? When you just started out, what was your career like, and how has your experience been like coaching people, um, and I think it's all interrelated, because what you coach people and the kind of experience that you actually obtain from coaching people is what you uh, put into your books, right? Like,
Yes, yes.
right? Yes. So how has your career started? What was it like when you were young, and how did you start it?
Okay. Well, when I was young, I was always involved with door-to-door selling with
Uh-huh.
my school, whether it was an elementary school or a junior high.
Uh-huh.
Every school has a fundraiser, right? So
Uh-huh.
we would be told to sell Christmas candles or Christmas
Yes.
cards or popcorn or candy bars, a whole variety of items. And we
Uh-huh.
would sell them to friends and family and throughout our neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
So as I was doing that throughout the school year, during the summer, I thought, I wonder if I could find a product that I could sell for myself
Mm-hmm.
for this 3 month school break. So when I was growing up, there was always these little tiny ads in black
Mm-hmm.
and white in the back of magazines that
Mm-hmm.
would offer to, you could purchase items, gift items at wholesale and sell them for
Mm-hmm.
retail.
Mm-hmm.
So I saved up my allowance and was able to buy a case of X amount of items, and I would go door to door selling them.
Mm-hmm.
So that experience evolved into an adult. I was able to be a sales associate for uh, significantly large companies throughout the states here. And I
Mm-hmm.
was consistently at the top 1 or 2% in those sales organizations. And then I outgrew those sales organizations and wanted to develop my own company.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when I was selling, consistently, individuals would approach me and say, could you speak to our sales organization of how and
Mm-hmm.
why you're so successful in selling?
Mm-hmm.
And so that domino effect, that snowball effect, first it was small groups, then mid groups, then large groups, and then um, big conferences, and then it just escalated from there.
Ah, right. So it's all about I think selling and doing a business well that actually eventually drove you to venture into motivation or coaching field, right? Like, in order to coach other people on how to actually run a business successfully. So I think that's how you transition from merely just a salesperson into someone who coaches businesses and coaches people, like business people, to run their businesses more effectively, right? So I think that's the transition that you got. Is that right?
Yes, you hit the nail on the head there, Jasvina,
Uh-huh.
and they're all interrelated.
Correct.
And people seem to want to categorize selling just for the business world,
Mm-hmm.
and that is not accurate.
Mm-hmm.
We do not have to be in the business world to be involved in selling. We are
Uh-huh.
selling ourselves when we go to an interview. We are selling
Yes.
ourselves when we're pursuing a relationship. We are
Uh-huh.
selling ourselves when we're trying to get along with our neighbors and
Correct.
co-workers. We are selling ourselves to get great service at a bank or at the post office.
Correct.
So selling is involved in all areas of our life, not just the business world.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. So, and moving on to your writing journey, right? So, this is the third book. So, what was the first two books about? And tell us about that. Like,
Okay.
yes, maybe before we actually go on to the third book that we're going to discuss in detail. So how was the idea? Where did you get the idea to write the first two books, and what was it all about?
All right. The title of the first two, one
Mm-hmm.
is Stepping Stones to Success,
Uh-huh.
and the other one was Living Life to Its Fullest.
Mm-hmm.
Now, just to be clear, uh, I, it's not my intention to market my book. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
there's there's plenty of free material on the
Out there,
internet. If your
correct.
listeners simply type in my name to any popular search engine, and
Mm-hmm.
they'll find hundreds of articles pertaining to self-improvement, goal setting, overcoming procrastination, winning attitude, selling, all that and more is available for free just
Mm-hmm.
by searching my articles. But if they are intent on acquiring one of my books, they can type in the titles into one of their favorite retail store
Mm-hmm.
websites and they're available. So
Mm-hmm.
to answer your question, Stepping Stones to Success, which was a very successful piece of
Mm-hmm.
work that I concluded about a decade ago, and the other was Living Life to Its Fullest.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Uh, they're more eclectic. The start of something big is focused for an individual. Stepping Stones to Success can be used by individuals, business owners, entrepreneurs, students, housewives, politicians, policemen, soldiers. It's
Mm-hmm.
more applicable to everyone versus focus.
Mm-hmm. Right. So, um, and what was the feedback that you got from readers? Like, as soon as you publish, I believe the first two books that you publish are also self-published books.
Yes, correct.
Right. So I know that self-publishing is something that is very tedious, or it requires a lot of attention from the author, because he's gonna be doing like every single thing on behalf of the publisher, on behalf of the marketer, on behalf of just everybody else in the business. Literally, I think self-publishing will actually teach someone to own their work, or probably look at things as business, look at writing as business, and to not just write it, but also to market someone, right? So themselves, because that's what self-publishing is all about. Because if you don't brand yourself, if you don't market yourself, I think people are going to lose out in the competition. So in terms of writing, and in terms of selling books, so how did you approach people, and what kind of market did you actually approach, or people actually approached you? Because when people actually write book, like authors write book, they just write book, but end of the day, when it's all done, they just do not know how to target, like where to target, where do I market the book, and they just go about like selling it to everybody and just anybody, right? So I believe that not all books are actually for just about anybody. I don't think that is anybody is kind of like a market that you can even target on, right? So what was your target market, and how did you reach them out?
Well, being a motivational speaker, um,
Mm-hmm.
prior to COVID, prior to this
Mm-hmm.
pandemic, I was typically speaking twice a day, 5 days a week
Mm-hmm.
throughout the country and
Mm-hmm.
internationally as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that every time you speak, folks come up to you, right? They want
Mm-hmm.
to comment on your talk. They want to see if you have other materials. So going through several years of speaking throughout the world and having people consistently ask for additional material or if I had written anything,
Mm-hmm.
that in combination with one of my mentors telling me that I should put something in writing. So the base, the audience was already there. It was just not being adhered to because I was focusing on speaking. So when you ask, how do you identify your audience? How do you find customers? In
Mm-hmm.
my particular case, because I'm a motivational speaker and people routinely want additional material from me,
Mm-hmm.
my audience was easily identifiable.
Correct. Right.
When you mentioned earlier, as far as commitment, I think it's refreshing to be hands-on. You can select the interviews that you want to be involved in. You can select the promotions that you want to be involved in. And I think that the commitment, the sincerity is far superior when you yourself, as the author, are involved in every aspect of the promotion,
Exactly.
every aspect of your writing.
Correct. Correct. That's absolutely right. Because I think as an author, it is important to have a strong author branding, like a branding for yourself, no matter what you sell, but especially when you're an author, because you've produced a work that, especially nonfiction books, you've produced a work whereby people want to read and people will also want to know a little bit more about yourself. Like for instance, I when I select nonfiction books to read, I would always go to the autobiography. I would like to read a little bit more about the author to identify who the person is behind the book, and what kind of credibility the person has. And I think it's not just about credibility, but it's more about the story. Like, it gives you a sense of personal touch to the whole thing, and you feel connected with the person, right? So I think that's the
Right.
whole idea of it. And I guess in your case, in terms of reaching out to people who are looking out for motivation is something very direct, because it's directly linked towards a link to your career as well as a motivational speaker. So it's just out there. It's just easily identifiable, right? Right.
Yes,
So
I agree.
yes. So in terms of keeping in touch with your fans or your readers, and also in terms of getting feedbacks from them, do you have a website, or do you have a newsletter where people can actually subscribe to your writing journey? How has it been going so far in that aspect? Because I think as an author, because I'm a co-author myself, and
Congratulations.
I always look forward to getting feedbacks from my readers. I always want to like know every single person who has read my book. I want to like get in touch with them, like to understand what they think about the book, right? So,
Sure.
in that aspect, what have you been doing so far, and what kind of feedbacks you've gotten from your readers?
Okay. Excellent. I'm fairly active, Jasvina, on social media. So if your listeners uh, find this interview appealing, they're certainly welcome to do further research on me throughout the internet. They can feel free to reach out to me on social media, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn or even Twitter. I receive on a consistent basis comments and questions because it's motivation based. The audience is fairly eclectic that reaches out to me. It's not just entrepreneurs or businessmen or salespeople. I have housewives reaching out saying, "How should I approach this sensitive conversation I want to have with my loved one, whether it be my child or my sister or my husband?" I have folks that reach out to want to communicate better with their boyfriend or with their father or with their uncle or their brother.
Mm-hmm.
I have students reach out to me and say, what specialty should I focus on so that I um, can focus on a specific direction in my life?
Mm-hmm.
Others are, how do I get my dream home? How do I take my dream vacation? Uh,
Uh-huh.
Tell
Uh-huh.
me about some of your travels, whether it's riding elephants or playing with tigers and what have you. So the response has been very positive
Uh-huh.
and enlightening, and perhaps may encourage me to continue my writing further.
Mm-hmm. We have somebody over here saying that Christina Alejandro saying that she's giving a shout out to you, saying that she's your fan. So
Uh,
hi Christina, hi
Hello,
Christina.
Christina.
Thank you for joining us, Christina. I mean, if you have questions for Patrick, if you want to ask something, you feel free to just leave the questions on the comment box. We will be very happy to actually take the questions up and answer it. So thank you so much. Oh yes, she has a question over here. So what dreams are you chasing now? I think that's pretty interesting to
Ah,
uh, to ask you. So yes, that's from Christina. Thank you, Christina. So
okay.
what dreams are you chasing right now? So maybe that's pretty interesting. So what dreams? I mean, what are your goals? Simply put,
Interesting.
yeah.
Well, first of all, thank you, Christina, for tuning in, and I'm happy that you've were
Managed.
pleased with my book and that you were able to get something of substance from my material. As far as my dreams, I've been very fascinated with the country of Thailand. And so recently, prior to this pandemic, I acquired a condo overlooking the beach that I thought would be ideal for me to continue my meditations, to continue my thoughts on other book considerations,
Mhm,
uh, but more to have the freedom of being close to the beach and truly embracing life. So if you ask, my dream is to enjoy the ocean, uh, regardless of which ocean. But right now, it looks like it's going to be on the off the South China Sea,
uh-huh,
and to embrace life and see what the next evolution has to offer.
uh-huh.
Thank you for your question, Christina.
Right. So I think, Christina, I think that has answered your question. Let us know that, if Patrick has answered your question. And thank you so much for actually tuning in. And I hope you would be able to stay with us for the rest of the interview. So, Patrick, I was also thinking about your readers, right, earlier on. So, what do they actually tell about the books that you've read? And of course, we have Christina over here saying that she's your fan, right? So, how has it helped people out there, and how do you go about actually organizing your book, the content of your book, so that it's beneficial for people out there? Of course, we know that a lot of people, I mean, like, from Robin Sharma, and we've got like so many other motivational speakers out there, right? So what actually sets you apart from them? And yes, how do you go about that? Tell us about it.
I strive, whether I'm speaking to an audience physically or speaking to them through my writings,
Hmm.
to communicate as effectively and as clearly as possible, and to be as relatable as
Hmm.
possible. So there are, as you said, many folks that are involved in motivational speaking.
Hmm.
The names are endless. I think as human beings, we identify with a certain speaker, or we identify with a certain author, we identify with something in that person's personal experience or how they express themselves that
Hmm.
has an effect on us as an individual.
Hmm.
So I think everyone who is involved in my industry in motivational speaking, in self improvement, has
Hmm.
something to offer to every individual. And
Hmm.
so I don't take offense, or do I become too prideful if
Hmm.
folks are comfortable with what I share or choose to get their information for self improvement from someone else. I
Hmm.
think the goal is, regardless of who they choose,
Date 30th
that they
August.
pursue their goals and dreams,
Hmm.
whoever it is. If it encourages them to move forward in life, then that's
Hmm.
wonderful. If it's something
Hmm.
that I wrote, wonderful. If it's something that another author wrote or another speaker has said, wonderful. The main objective is to embrace life
Hmm.
and to make it as fulfilling as possible, regardless of who you get that motivation from. If it's me, wonderful. If not, life is still good.
Hmm. Right. So, speaking about individuality and the unique trait that every motivational speaker has, like it differs from one person to another person, because although the gist of the book may be the same, but I think the way you deliver it and the way your personal experience and how it adds to the whole experience of reading the book and how it impacts the readers is all different, right? So it's all about personal touch, bringing a personal touch to your book and um, helping people with that, right? So um, what do you think is the uh, 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 is something that is different from other people, or like that you think is good about yourself, or the unique trait about yourself when it comes to this field, like motivational speaker, as a motivational speaker, and also now as an author.
I think from my perspective,
Mhm.
that even though I've had multiple successes in life, the
Mhm.
same struggles that everyone encounters, I too have encountered. Whether
Mhm.
it's a struggle with identifying the ideal relationship, whether
Mhm.
that relationship is in business or that relationship is in my personal life or that
Mhm.
relationship is in my spirituality, that the struggles that I've encountered, I try to express in my writings. The struggles that I've
Mhm.
encountered, I try to express when I speak. But I
Mhm.
don't simply stop at expressing them, Jasmina. I
Mhm.
provide solutions to
Mhm.
the obstacles that I have encountered.
Mhm.
And sometimes those solutions come easily, sometimes not so easily. So
Mhm.
I stressed my journey of the obstacles that I've encountered and the solutions that I've come up with and
Mhm.
how they've been effective. And I offer them to others so that their journey in this
Mhm.
game of life
Mhm.
can be less stressful, if you will.
Mhm. Okay, right. Um, yes, I think in terms of not just it's a foolproof solutions. Those are like foolproof solutions that you have actually used for yourself, and
Yes.
and it has worked, and therefore you are trying to suggest them to people who are reading so that they can actually implement in their life, and also find their own success. Like, not just, probably it's not going to be the same for them, but I think it gives them a path where they can actually follow and find their own solution towards it at the end of the day, right?
Yes, indeed.
Right. Right. So in terms of your latest book, right? So we're coming to that right now, the start of something big, an expression on living life to its fullest. Tell us a little bit more about this book. How many, like, how thick is this book, and what kind of contents do you have in it? Is it for everybody to read, like for general audience? Tell us a little bit more about the book.
Well, that's why I came out with the start of something big, Jasmina, is that this latest work is more adaptable to all parties involved. As I had
Mm-hmm.
stated earlier, it's not just for business people or salespeople or for folks who want to be on a fast track to success. The
Mm-hmm.
start of something big is applicable to every individual who wants to improve themselves,
Mm-hmm.
whether they want to improve their relationship, whether they want to go for a promotion at work, whether they want to start their own business, whether they want to free up their time for their own social pursuits or start a new hobby. Regardless of who you are,
Mm-hmm.
everyone has a goal in life.
Mm-hmm.
And so I lay down principles that will assist them in reaching whatever goal they may have. I share principles on short term principles on goal setting and long term principles on goal setting. I
Mm-hmm.
share techniques and tactics that will help them overcome procrastination. Because
Mm-hmm.
regardless of how many goals you have, regardless of how much you want to improve your life, if you never get started, it is of no assistance to you.
Mm-hmm.
So I go into that in the book of how to use certain tactics to encourage you to take that step forward to
Mm-hmm.
begin that journey of pursuing whatever your goal may be.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's significant in everyone's life. It's one thing to set goals, but it's quite another thing to begin that pursuit of goals. And so I share techniques that are effective in encouraging them to pursue their goals.
Mm-hmm. Right. So when we speak about goals right now, right? So when we speak about goals, it is incredibly important to actually set um, small achievable goals, as much as it's important to have the whole big picture of the big goals that the kind of like the destination that you want to reach. So tell us a little bit about that, because I'm actually a fan of Atomic Habits. I've read Atomic Habits, and James Clear. I've also subscribed to his newsletters. So um, it
Wonderful.
is important, because it's said that it is important to celebrate your small successes as much as you embrace the whole big success. Like, if let's say you want to lose like um 10 kilograms, so when as soon as you lose 1 kg or 2 kgs, you just have to like celebrate it and keep that motivation going, right? So tell us a little bit about that, because I think it is really important, like you said earlier. It's not just about setting goals, but it's about how to attain them, right? So a lot of people out there, we tend to like set goals, but it's just something very vague, and we don't really end up achieving them. So
Sure.
probably you want to like give us a small tips over here right now for whoever that's listening to us, that who are tuned into us right now, um, how to actually look at goal setting in an efficient way.
One of the most efficient ways, Jasvina, that I have found uh, by receiving feedback from coaching clients and
Mhm,
giving talks is that you have to have a reward system while you're
mhm,
going through this goal setting process. That,
mhm,
yes, whether it's losing weight or whether it's uh, setting aside a certain amount of savings or
mhm,
taking a few steps and starting a business or
mhm,
instigating a conversation that you've been meaning to have, whatever
mhm,
that goal may have been, have a reward system that once I attain one third of my goal, I'm going to treat myself to dinner. Once
mhm,
I attain two-thirds of my goal, I'm going to take myself or a loved one to a movie.
mhm,
Once I achieve my goal, we're going to get away for the weekend or
mhm,
do a staycation.
mhm,
Regardless of the goal, whether it's buying a certain piece of jewelry or a certain piece of clothing or having a certain meal or going on a certain vacation or just going out for a walk to your favorite park and feeding the fish and ducks at the pond,
mhm,
have a reward system so that the pursuit of your goal does not become just like a job. That
mhm,
reward, if the reward is significant to you, not to me,
mhm,
not to you, Jasmina, but to that
mhm,
specific individual,
mhm,
if that reward is significant, it will encourage them to set
mhm,
new goals. It will encourage them to set bigger goals.
mhm,
But that only comes consistently if they are as disciplined in rewarding themselves.
mhm, mhm. Right. So um, now coming to this, right? I have a question for you, because when we speak about reward system, right? Like, how do we um, how do we actually set like meaningful rewards? Like, sometimes we tend to like splurge ourselves on rewards just because we have actually attained a small goal. Like, you just lost, probably you want to lose like 10 kilograms, but you only lost like half kilograms, and you'll feel like, oh wow, I've done something really great, and you go on like, probably binge eating for the next 1 week, or you think that, oh, I've already attained it. Probably you just fool yourself thinking that you have done a good job, and you tend to get sidetracked from the focus, right? So How do we how do we actually stay disciplined, stay true to ourselves and stay true to our journey, not just for the reward. Sometimes when we say reward, right, like the reward system, it tend to feel like oh, it's something really big and it's something really expensive, or it's something really grand, and we tend to like just immerse in that whole happiness or happy period of it. So yes,
Okay.
maybe you want to like shed some light to this.
Sure,
uh
sure.
yeah.
All right, when it comes to rewards, yes, it is important not to go overboard on rewarding yourself. So you can take it in steps, right? If it has to do with a diet, I don't think it's advisable to reward yourself with a whole cake, perhaps
Hmm.
just a couple cookies. Sometimes, if you want to reward yourself, you're not going to reward yourself with a cake or a couple cookies, perhaps just a small piece of candy, right?
Hmm.
Sometimes to reward yourself, it's not a cake or cookies or a small piece of candy, but typically I don't add cream or sweetener to my coffee. But because I've been so great on my goal of losing weight, this week or just tomorrow, I'm going to add a little bit of cream to my coffee or just a
Hmm.
dash of sweetener to my coffee. And
Hmm.
just that little step serves to reward you, but at the same time does not throw you off track or take away from the success that you've already achieved.
Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm.
So that's when it comes to just weight, right? We have other challenges, we have other goals. So if, like for myself, I prefer not to watch television because I get so much more done by not
Hmm.
watching television. But if
Hmm.
I've achieved a certain goal, I reward myself by saying, you know what? Tomorrow night I'm going to watch this sitcom, or tomorrow night I'm going to watch this TV show or this news briefing.
Hmm.
So for me, I consider that a reward. But so that I don't fall into the trap of that one little sitcom of 30 minutes or an hour turns into 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours of channel surfing,
Hmm.
and I give back all the gains that I achieved that week,
Hmm.
I limit that reward of one sitcom or two sitcom or 30 minutes or an hour or just on Friday night or just on Saturday night, I minimize that reward so I do not give back the gains.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes, correct. Yes, yes. So in terms of this is an important question, probably like for a lot of young people out there, like how to identify passion and how to actually um, convert, or probably like find a career surrounding something that you're passionate about, and yeah. So how do we actually naturally stay motivated in whatever that we do, and make it something that is that's probably like our default system. It's not like something that we have to force ourselves into, but to make that habit or to make that into a lifestyle is just ourselves, like we don't have to like force ourselves to to want it to be really focused or disciplined, but it's just part of our lifestyle, right? So how do we actually find that something we are passionate about? Passion, yeah, in terms of passion.
Well, I agree wholeheartedly as far as living with passion and developing passion if you do not already have it. I
Hmm.
know it may vary from country to country and culture to culture and from age group to
Correct.
age group. Uh, so we can look at this from multiple viewpoints, if you will,
Hmm.
Jasmina.
Hmm.
You don't have to follow the path of your parents. You don't have to follow the path of your favorite movie star or rock star or favorite author for that fact.
Hmm.
What's important is that you follow your path. You
Hmm.
ask yourself, hey, if I had 6 months to live, if I had three
Hmm.
months to live, how would I like to spend it? Would you
Hmm.
like to spend it on the beach or in the mountains or going to school or starting the business or playing with a puppy or walking with your loved one to a park?
Hmm.
Ask yourself, what you would do if you had 6 months or 3 months to live. And oftentimes, when you ask yourself that, you'll see a path, you'll see an avenue of how you could implement that in your own choice of a career, in your own
Mm-hmm.
choice of a business.
Mm-hmm.
So I would encourage your listeners to ask themselves those two questions. What would I do if I had 6 months or 3 months to live? And it's been often said that if you pursue what you love,
Mm-hmm.
if you pursue what you love, you will never work a day in your life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I
Yes.
encourage everyone to try to identify what they love. Is it a love of working with human beings? Is it a love of working with animals? Is it a love of working with the computer? Is it a
Mm-hmm.
love of working with arts and crafts or with architecture or with Mother Nature? Look within yourself, get a notepad and a pencil and a pen, or meditate or go for a walk and ask yourself, what do I love? And if you
Mm-hmm.
ask yourself that sincerely, the answers will come to you on what path, what avenue that you should pursue in this journey of life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes, I think passion can be something that changes over time. Like you may not be as comfortable as you think you were. When you started doing something, over time you may feel like, okay, this is probably not something for me, right? So, or discovering passion is not something as easy as it seems to be, because it's like you may think in the beginning that it is something that you're passionate about, but 2 3 months later, doing it and being involved in that field, you feel like this is not for me, right? So
Mhm.
have you actually encountered clients like that who are not really sure about what they're passionate about? They are in pursuit of finding the passion, but they're kind of like lost. So what is your advice to people like that?
First of all, I want everyone to realize that that is natural. That occurs to a lot of individuals. It occurs in a lot of programs. It has
Mhm,
been said that even with the NASA program,
mhm,
85% of the time when they send a rocket into outer space, it's off course. They constantly have to readjust based
mhm,
upon new obstacles, new challenges that the rocket encounters. Uh,
mhm,
Likewise, in our own life, that
mhm,
it's natural to, whether it's a week from now or a month from now or a year from now, to say, maybe this is not the path that I want to pursue anymore.
mhm,
Well, that's a good thing, because anytime you receive new information,
mhm,
if you do not reevaluate based upon new information that's coming in,
mhm,
that's insanity, right? They say if you
mhm,
continue to do as you've always done, you'll continue to be where you've always been. The
mhm,
definition of insanity is doing the same thing day after day and somehow expecting a different result. So if you
mhm,
receive new information of, maybe this relationship is not for me, maybe this business is not for me,
mhm,
maybe this goal or this endeavor is not for me, it's because you have received new information,
mhm,
or you as an individual have grown.
mhm,
And
mhm,
so as we grow as individuals, we see things from a different perspective.
mhm,
So
mhm,
that different perspective, that new perspective, it's natural and it should be embraced to reevaluate our present goal, and sometimes to increase it, to decrease it, or to eliminate it completely and go off in
uh-huh,
a different direction. That is
mhm,
life.
mhm, mhm. Right, excellent. So I think we all have been in that crossroad where we're not sure of what we're doing, like whether it serves our highest purpose and whether it's propelling us to move forward in our lives or not. So in that confused times, I think we all feel like, are we not motivated enough? Because we tend to like question ourselves. We feel like, okay, I've set like this much of goals, but in the middle of it, I just feel like, I don't feel like pursuing it anymore. So is there anything wrong with me? So we
Okay.
tend to like question ourselves. Are we not like diligently pursuing our passion enough? Or like finding like what Christina have. She has a question for us, which is pretty much you know related to the question that I'm asking as well. What sustains your passion for life? uh, yes, how can we actually identify whether okay, I'm not passionate about this anymore, or how can we know that okay, I have to do something in order to fuel my passions further?
Sure.
Yeah.
I would encourage your listeners um, to ask themselves why.
Uh-huh.
If you can identify a why, we call it a why to. If you
Mhm.
can identify a why to do something, the how to becomes easier. So
Mhm.
it's important to be flexible because every individual is different. There are
Mhm.
many of us that are able to go after our goals and dreams because of our own desires. We want a
Mhm.
better quality of life. We want this home, this car, this vacation, this much in savings, this type of relationship. There are
Mhm.
other folks that is not their motivation. So if
Mhm.
your motivation is, I want to do this because I want to improve my parents' life or my children's life or my
Mhm.
friends and loved ones' lives,
Mhm.
or if it's not friends and loved ones, if it's not parents and brothers and sisters and aunts and uncles and grandparents, it could be even larger. I want to contribute to society. So if the
Mhm.
motivation is not enough for yourself,
Mhm.
perhaps if you identify why you want to do it, I want to do it because I want to contribute to society, I want to do it because I want a better quality of life for my loved ones, then
Mhm.
that oftentimes um, is a step in a different direction with the same result of achieving a goal. If you can maintain that passion because of your own desires, wonderful. If not,
Mhm.
identify why you should do it that's going to benefit someone else that you care about
Mhm. Mhm.
or some cause that you care about.
Mhm. Mhm. Right. So, in terms of answering Christina's question, she asked like, "What sustains your passion for life?" Um, is there any ways that we can make sure that we can sustain our passion for life? Because Christina has a question for us.
Yes, well, thanks for the
Uh-huh.
question, Christina. To
Mhm.
maintain a passion for life, you must consistently reevaluate.
Mhm.
For some of us, we can do it just by having a conversation with a loved one. Others, we have to take literally a pad and pencil and pen, and on a weekly basis.
Mhm.
Sometimes, depending on what goal I have, it's on a nightly basis. At the end
Mhm.
of my day, I have a notepad and a pen. Sometimes I do it on the computer or my tablet or phone on the note section and say, okay, what did I do today? Did I
Mhm.
achieve the goals that I wanted to achieve? Yes. Okay. Which goals did I not achieve? How could I
Mhm.
have achieved them? And the ones that I did not achieve, how will I pursue them tomorrow? And then I
Mhm.
also reevaluate everything. The goals that I did not achieve, did I did not achieve them because I just didn't get around to it? Or I did not
Mhm.
achieve them because they're really not that important to me anymore?
Mhm. Mhm.
So how to maintain enthusiasm or that burning desire is to consistently and ruthlessly reevaluate, whether it's on a daily basis, a weekly basis, or starting off, just do it once a month. The first of every month, sit down at your spot, your special place, whether it's at
Mhm.
a park, whether it's your favorite chair or lounge chair in a den or up on your roof or at a pond. Sit
Mhm.
down and say, where am I at in life?
Mhm.
Am I making progress to where I want to be? And if
Mhm.
not, how do I change that? So just
Mhm.
constant reevaluation throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the month, throughout the year. And by doing that consistently, you find yourself achieving goals left and right.
By staying true to ourselves and by staying true to our gut feelings, by staying true to our instinct, I think just by staying true to ourselves, I think we will be able to find a lot of answers, and we will be able to identify a lot of directions that we are able to give ourselves. I think we don't really
Very true.
we seek from within. I guess if we seek from within and we seek those answers, not just from people, but I think we seek inspiration from people, but we ultimately the answers are all within us, and I think that's what sums it all. I
Yes,
guess so.
very true.
I think Christina, I think let us know if Patrick has answered your question, and let us know what you think about that as well. So yeah, I am gonna show the book on Amazon right now. I'm gonna screen it. I'm gonna share screen right now. So we're gonna see this is where you have yes. So this is where your Amazon page, and so this is your third book, which is the start of something big, an
Oh,
expression on living life
well,
to
thank
its
you.
fullest. Yes, so you published this September 16 in 2009, right? So
Correct.
yes, so do you have any websites that readers can actually follow you or to learn more about yourself?
Yes, I try to post on a consistent basis on all the major social media sites.
Mm-hmm,
So whether they're a coaching client or a prospective coaching client or just a potential friend or fellow
mm-hmm,
human being that just wants to reach out and say hello, they can
mm-hmm,
reach out on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram. If it's business related, I have folks that will attend to that. If it's just to say hello or to ask a question, I check in several times a day, and I'm more than happy to
mm-hmm,
answer any questions, any
mm-hmm,
challenges that folks may be encountering. Feel
mm-hmm.
free to reach out to me on any social media.
Awesome. Right. Awesome. So, before we actually end the interview for today, Patrick, I think what would you like to tell the listeners out there in terms of pertaining to your book and also pertaining to the works that you are carrying out right now? What do you like to tell people out there? Yeah, probably like words of wisdom from you before we actually end the interview for tonight.
Well, fair enough. Again, thank you for having me. Thank you for the insightful questions.
Mm-hmm,
Um, if your viewers would like to pursue one of my works, whether a book, I have audio programs for folks who don't want to read, who folks
mm-hmm,
who don't want to spend any money, they can identify free articles throughout the internet. If they have
mm-hmm,
a question that they just want to post on social media, and
mm-hmm,
when I check in, I'll be more than happy to answer them. But
mm-hmm,
more importantly, as fellow human beings, we're all adapting to this new normal, this
mm-hmm,
pandemic that occurs every 100 years or so.
mm-hmm,
So I encourage your listeners to simply live in the present, try not to stress about the past, try not to stress about the future, to embrace the present moment. All of us have more time now. A lot of
mm-hmm,
us are working from home. We're not
mm-hmm,
stuck in traffic. We're not running errands all day long. We're not focused on the job or career and moving up in life because
mm-hmm,
there's this fear of the great unknown. So,
mm-hmm,
to overcome that fear, to overcome that stress, to focus on the present, I can tell them that there's over 100 entities working um, on a vaccine. There's
mm-hmm,
billionaires competing with billionaires. There are universities competing. There are countries competing. There
mm-hmm,
are medical companies competing.
mm-hmm,
Um, Out of those 130 are already in phase testing, and out of those 30, the top 10% are very close to
mm-hmm,
a vaccine. So that
mm-hmm.
should give us hope.
Correct.
So stay healthy,
Mhm.
stay safe, and I sincerely wish my best to each and every one of you.
Thank you so much, Patrick, for actually joining us for today's show. It's been a pleasure speaking to you, and we have and thank you so much, Christina, also for
Thank you.
staying with us throughout this interview, and to the rest of those who are listening right now who just tune in. This interview will be available for replay in a short while. So yes, so it's going to be live on Facebook immediately once we end this live interview, and I will also be posting this on several social media and Instagram, Twitter. I'll be also uploading this on YouTube as well. So I'll be sending that links out to you later on, Patrick, once it's live. And once again, thank you
Absolutely.
so much for joining us, Patrick, and stay safe.
Absolutely.
And till we meet again, probably in one of our shows next time. So thank you so much, Patrick. Thank you.
Absolutely. Pleasure crossing paths. All
Thank
my
you.
best.
Pleasure.
Okay.
Thank you
Bye
so
bye.
much. Bye bye.